I think one of the biggest misconceptions that students have is that earning a 1400 will come just from learning a few tricks. As a tutor, I have worked with students who have earned various levels on the SAT. So one thing that I do see is that students who are earning maybe between 1100 and 1200 who do have a goal of 1400 and really setting expectations and habits that will help them reach that goal. So why a 1400? Let's start with that. So a 1400 is not a perfect score, but it is a very strong score. And it will put you in the conversation for a lot of the Georgia schools, the Georgia public schools, such as University of Georgia and even Georgia Tech and even a few private schools such as Emory. It is a bit lower than their median SAT score, but we do know that the SAT is not the only indicator that schools are looking at. So it will be something that will not automatically eliminate you. You know, it does give you a slight edge over someone who would have a 1200 or something like that. If those are the type of schools that you are looking into, and then if some out of state schools who are nearby, such as Clemson University, that will also be a competitive score for those type of school. And we know that it will help you with scholarship. If your GPA matches, then you know you're a shoe in for the Zell Miller scholarship, but then there might also be private scholarships that you can look into. And again, it just gives you a competitive edge. So it gives you more choices as far as options for schools and options for scholarship. So that is one reason why students are looking at getting a 1400. Now, what are the habits that students who earn a 1400 display? Because I think it makes a difference. Now, if you're already at 1350, it may just be a few tricks, such as learning how to eliminate answers, maybe the timing of the test. It may be a good idea to take it right after you complete Algebra 2 because for the SAT, that is basically what will be the hardest content, you know, the Algebra 2. So things like that, timing yourself, you know, that those are always good strategies. So if you already have a 1350, you may just need to tweak a few things like that and that will help. However, it is also very important to make sure that you do have those foundational skills, such as being a strong reader, a strong writer, understanding the grammar rules and the mechanics of writing, and also strong math skills. And that should have been developed, you know, over time and many years. You know, I definitely recommend starting as far back as middle school, you know, to start building those skills. But let's say you're a senior or a rising senior and you're at 1100, 1200. It does not mean that all hope is gone. You will just have to be very systematic and strategic with your studying. So, three things that I notice is that students who are earning 1400 or close to that, they are not just practicing randomly or just when they come for tutoring. You do have to have a system. Think about if your goal was to uh, be um, part of like weight training or see a physical therapist. It's unlikely that you're able to see the trainer or physical therapist daily, but you probably want to practice daily or at least several times a week. So that is something, whatever they're teaching you, you would want to practice that when you're not seeing them. So it would be the same thing for the SAT. So students who score higher are practicing independently. So if you come to tutoring and you work on something and you notice, you know what, I'm really struggling with science passages. Or I'm struggling with systems of equation, then you are practicing that. So there are a lot of resources. You can purchase a textbook where there are chapters and they divide those chapters by specific skill that you can go and target that skill. Khan Academy is also a good resource that you could use to target specific skills that you need to work on. But working on SAT homework, setting aside time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour daily or a couple times a week, does help. It does make a difference. The second thing is you are strengthening your weak skills. So again, we'll go back to like if you notice it's systems of equation or it's maybe a few geometry problems. Although, I mean, that probably would not be, I would not say that's my highest focus, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So, but if you notice, or it's the punctuation that you're really struggling with. So, whatever it is, you're analyzing your errors. So, you're wondering and trying to figure out, why did I choose this incorrect answer? What misconception do I have? And what is the actual rule behind that? Because there's a reason why this answer is correct. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, this is the correct answer, this is the incorrect answer, and then moving on. You really want to analyze where your error came from, what misconception you have, and what you need to do to work on that. And that goes hand in hand, with the setting time for homework and studying, but make sure you're analyzing your answers and really figuring out what that exact rule is that you need to understand. And finally, I would say, once you've analyzed your answers, and you should be taking practice tests. And again, if you're scoring maybe between 1100, 1200, you do want to leave yourself more time. Don't just start practicing maybe the month before the test. Give yourself some time in between, a couple of months to practice. So during that time, you may have taken a couple of practices under test taking condition, even if you need to break it up. Maybe you might do reading and writing one day and math another day, but at least time yourself, keep those conditions as it should be. So if you try, the test taking condition and see, okay, well, you know what, this is the area that I need to work on, and look at how that compares with the entire SAT as a whole. So there may be some obscure questions that are not tested very heavily on the SAT that, and again, if you're not, your goal is not a 1500, 1600. If it's not, or you're just like, I mean, not that it's impossible, but you do know that it would take even more work to reach that, you might not focus so much on those. But like, let's say if it's grammar, we do know the punctuation rules, the sentence structure, like what a complete sentence is, dashes, colon. That's heavily tested on the SAT. For math, the heart of algebra questions, systems of equation, that's very important to know for the SAT. So target those areas that are, you're going to see a type of question on the SAT, and make sure you understand that. So again, just to recap, you want to set a time for yourself. You want to be doing homework. You want to analyze your incorrect answer and why this is the correct answer. And also you want to focus on the questions that are more heavily tested on the SAT, and not waste too much time on things that are more obscure. So, if you would like more information on the SAT reading, writing, math, please follow and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comment, please comment below. See you next time. Bye.